is Thanatology 1, and the learning objectives for today's session are that at the end of the lecture series, the students should be able to discuss and explain the term thanatology, death, life. Students shall also be able to discuss the diagnosis, how to diagnose, how to declare, how to certify, and how to notify the death. Students shall also be able to discuss and certify the cause of death, the mode of death, the manner of the death, the nature of the death, and the mechanism of the death. Now, the medico-legal investigations of the death falls within the limits of the subject area of thanatology. So, thanatology is the study of the death. Historically, humanity has thoughtfully struggled with the concept and criteria of death for millennia, and the fine line between the life and the death continues to be debated. The profound changes brought about by the organ failure support, organ replacement technology, and the organ transplantation continues to challenge our notion of the life and the death. So far as the death is concerned, its definition has multiple aspects like religious, philosophical, social, cultural, scientific, biological, medical, as well as legal and ethical aspects. Since late 1960s, defining the death as well as the life has become more difficult than the previous period, because in late 1960s, in 1967 exactly, the first heart transplant was successfully performed. So the meaning and the discussion and the definition of the death has now changed or has become more difficult to define. So if we say that how will you define the death, then honestly speaking, amongst these stakeholders like religious aspects, philosophical aspect, and the scientific, biological, medical, legal, ethical aspect, there is no consensus definition yet. And that too, for understanding the death, one has to understand the life also. So, how will you define life? And again, interestingly, there is no consensus definition of the life, even. But if you just recall in the subject of the biochemistry, there is one author, Professor Mushtaq Ahmed. So, Biochemistry by Mushtaq Ahmed, in that book, he has mentioned or he has shown this poetic verse uh, which is narrated as जिंदगी क्या है अनासिर में ज़हूर व तरतीब और मौत क्या है इन्हीं अनासिर का बिखर जाना. जिंदगी क्या है अनासिर में ज़हूर व तरतीब और मौत क्या है इन्हीं अनासिर का बिखर जाना. So if we do the plain translation of this, then life is an integration amongst the cells and their disintegration is death. Life is an integration amongst the cells and their disintegration is death. So, if we just continue with that, integration of unicellular matter, that is sperm and the ovum, it integrates into the fertilized ovum, which is again a unicellular thing. Now, that fertilized ovum undergoes divisions and divisions and results in formation of so many cells. So the integration of now these newly formed cells into the tissues and the integration of the tissues into the organs, and similarly the integration of the organs into organ systems. We, being the Muslims, also have belief that there is ensoulment of every human. So, if we look at all these things, all integrations and the ensoulments, now we can understand that life is not an event, but it is a process. So, similarly, the death is also not an event, but death is also a process. Death comes in bits and pieces. So far as the definition is concerned, the most agreed upon definition, not consensus definition, but the most agreed upon definition of the death is it is a permanent and irreversible loss of all the properties of living matter. Permanent and irreversible loss of all the properties of the living matter. Now, so far as the forensic medicine is concerned, it has shown that the death has clearly different stages. The most important stage of the death is number one, the somatic death, and number two is the molecular death. Now, if we define the somatic death, soma means body, so death of the body as a whole, or by definition, irreversible loss of integrating, coordinating functions of the organism as a whole. So, disintegration of the organ system. Also, it can be defined as it is a complete and permanent loss of the coordinating functions of the tripod of life. Complete, permanent loss of the coordinated functions of the tripod of the life. If we recall, heart, brain, and lungs are collectively known as the tripod of life. Heart, brain, and the lungs means when there is complete and persistent loss of the coordinating functions of the heart, brain, and the lungs, it is known as the somatic death. This somatic death is also known as the systemic death. This somatic death is also known as the clinical death. And this somatic death is also known as the legal death. So when we say legal death, it's actually the somatic death. When we clinically declare the death in our hospitals, we are actually declaring the somatic death, which is also known as the systemic death. And the next stage of the death is molecular death. What it is? It is the death of individual organs and the tissues. The death of individual organs and the tissues, while the somatic death was the death of the human being as a whole. And this time between the somatic death and the molecular death is an important entity which is known as the time interval between the somatic and the molecular stages of the death. For example, after the somatic death, heart survives for around 60 minutes. After the somatic death, liver survives for around 15 minutes. Similarly, kidney after the somatic death survives for around 45 minutes. Cornea survives for 6 to 24 hours. Blood survives for 6 hours. Bone marrow survives for 6 hours, while the nervous tissue survives only for few minutes. So the most sensitive tissue in the human body is the nervous tissue, which can only survive for few minutes after the somatic death. Now this time gap or time interval between the somatic and the molecular death is a big blessing to the humankind, because this gap can be well utilized for the donation of the deceased organs. So organs can be taken from the dead body for the future or the further transplantation into the ill person or the needy person. So this is a big gift by the nature to the humankind that there are clearly somatic and molecular stages of the death, and there is a gap, sufficient gap between the somatic and molecular death, during which we are capable of taking the organs from the dead body for transplantation purpose. Now, the different terms, the cause of death. Cause of death is the thing which triggers the process of death, means the conditions which lead to the death. If we talk about the cause of death broadly causes of death can be divided into disease, into aging, into trauma, into poisoning, and into the shock, means a neurogenic or a vasovagal shock. Now, the first two entities, disease, any disease process, aging process, these two things collectively make a cause of death as the natural cause of death. The trauma, poisoning, and the shock are taken as the unnatural causes of the death. The shock we are talking about here as a cause of death refers to the neurogenic shock or vasovagal shock. Means after the autopsy or after the careful examination, when we fail to find out any disease as a cause of death, when we fail to find out aging as a cause of death, when we fail to find out any trauma as a cause of death, or when we fail poisoning as a cause of death, we may suspect a neurogenic shock or vasovagal shock, especially if the person has died in these circumstances where person is supposed to be, or possibly he may be under extreme stress, then we may diagnose the situation as a neurogenic or vasovagal shock only when we cannot find disease, aging process, trauma, and the poisoning as the cause of death. So, broadly speaking, these are 5 causes of the death. Then comes the mode of death. Now, mode of death means final common pathway of the death. Whatever is the cause of death, may it be a disease process, may it be aging, may it be a trauma, may it be poisoning, or even may it be a shock, person will die from these common pathways, means either the heart will fail, or the lungs will fail, or the brain will fail first. So, whatever is, if the heart fails first, that is known as the syncope as the mode of death. If the brain fails first, that is the coma as the mode of the death. If the lungs fail first, that is the asphyxia as the mode of death. So, for example, coma, the failure of the brain first, usually this occurs due to injuries directly to the brain or the meninges, or due to the diseases of the brain or diseases of the meninges. So, at autopsy, we can find out injuries to the brain, or we can find out inflammation and congestion of the brain as well as the meninges also. Syncope means where heart fails first. This we can find in cases of the severe anemia, in cases of the severe hypovolemia, or in fear and fright situations like neurogenic or in vasovagal shock. The last one is the asphyxia. When lungs fail first, the mode of death is asphyxia, and this we see in the situations wherever there are any interferences with the normal process of the respirations. So, three modes of death: asphyxia, coma, syncope. Asphyxia when lungs fail first, coma when brain fails first, and the syncope when the heart fails first. Nature of the death we just discussed: natural death as well as or the unnatural death. So disease as a cause of death and aging as a cause of death are two included as the natural causes of death, while the remaining trauma, poisoning, as well as the shock, these are considered as the unnatural cause of the death. So, natural causes, disease and aging, and unnatural causes, trauma, poisoning, shock. If the nature of the death was unnatural, then it is to be decided what was the manner of the death. Manner of the death can be homicidal, can be suicidal, can be accidental. Homicidal, when the act was intended to cause harm to the other. The act which shows intention to cause harm to the other person is the homicidal act. Suicidal, the act where the intention is to harm oneself. So homicidal, intention to harm other person; suicidal, intention to harm oneself; and last, the accidental, when there was no any intention to harm any person or the oneself, that is the accidental. So if the nature of the death is unnatural, it is to be decided if it is homicidal, suicidal, or accidental. Then comes the mechanism of the death. Mechanism of the death is actually the cascade of the events from cause of death to the mode of death. Cascade of the events from cause, which triggers the process of the death, to the mode of the death, which is the final common pathway of the death. For an explanation, say if there is any injury to the body and that injury gets contaminated. So the cascade started with the injury, which is the actually underlying cause. Then it leads to the contamination of that injury. The contamination of the injury leads to the infected injury. That infection, if is not treated, it spreads locally. Even then it is not treated, then there is a potential that it can spread to the distant parts of the body or to the whole body, where it is called as the septicemia. And once there is a septicemia, then there is a tendency that intravascular coagulation may occur, which is known as DIC, disseminated intravascular coagulation, which results in the coagulation inside the vascular system, which leads to the increased viscosity of the blood, and this increased viscosity of the blood can lead to the slower blood flow, and it can also lead to the cardiac failure. Then heart fails, so the mode of the death as a syncope. So all this cascade of the event, from injury to contamination to infection to local spread to the distant spread and the septicemia, and then DIC, slowness of the blood flow and inability of the heart, or cardiac failure. This whole cascade of the events is collectively known as the mechanism of the death. Now there are some confusing terms in this chapter on the thanatology or death, and these confusing terms are the brain death, then comes the brain stem death, then is the coma, then is the vegetative state, and then there is a persist. Is actually vaguely used term for cortical death, means cortex, brain cortex death, and sometimes also used for the somatic death. But as this term is a confusing term, it refers to the death term. Death is used in that, so this has become obsolete and is no more used. Brain death is the obsolete term, it is no more in practice. Then is the brain stem death. When death extends below the tentorium cerebri and involves medulla oblongata, then this is known as the brain stem death. Actually, nowadays, what we are declaring as a death, a somatic death, is actually the brain stem death. Now, when transplantation is involved, then this brain stem death needs to be certified by two doctors not related with the transplant team. As we just discussed in the initial slides, that after the transplantation, now it has become more difficult to declare the death because death must not be prematurely declared. Declaring the death must not be a conflict of interest. That's why two doctors are needed to declare the death when the transplantation is involved, and these two doctors must not belong to transplantation team because there will be a conflict of interest and to save the rights of the dead person also. So the brainstem death is actually nowadays the criteria for the somatic death. Then comes the term coma, which means prolonged state of unconsciousness in which the patient is alive but unable to move or respond to the environment. Prolonged state of unconsciousness, where we call the patient as a comatose, in which the patient is alive but he is unable to move or respond to the environment. Coma. Then comes the term vegetative state. From the vegetative state, this refers to the plant life, means the life without locomotion. So, vegetative state, it is a brain injury resulting from trauma or disease where higher functions of the brain are lost while the non cognitive functions like breathing and the heart beating are retained without any external support. So, the vegetative state, which refers to the plant life, which signifies that a person cannot move. It is a brain injury resulting from trauma or a disease where higher functions of the brain are lost while the non cognitive functions like breathing and the heart beating are retained without any external support. Now, this vegetative state, if it is prolonged for more than a month time period, it is termed as persistent vegetative state. When vegetative state continues or is prolonged for more than a month time, it is known as persistent vegetative state. The use of the term persistent vegetative state is considered controversial because it implies prognosis. Because some cases or the few cases have been reported from different parts of the world that the person who were tagged persistent vegetative state actually survived or recovered from that state. So that's why it's not good, or it's not, it must not be used term as a persistent vegetative state. Rather, it can be suggested that better it is to be called as the prolonged vegetative state. In Karachi, we have a good example from the old city area Ranchor line, where there was accident around more than 2 decades ago, where two motorcyclists were hit, and one died soon after the road traffic accident. The effect this serious vegetative state on that more than 2 decades, and that was an excellent example of the nothing care at home, where that boy survived for next more than 2 decades time. So persistent vegetative state, when the vegetative state is prolonged for more than a month time. How to diagnose the death? Brain stem death is declared by the following findings: when there are the fixed bilateral dilated pupils, fixed bilateral dilated pupils, absence of all the nerve reflexes, cessation of respiration without aids, flat ECG or electrocardiogram or EKG for 5 continuous minutes, and the flat electroencephalogram for 5 continuous minutes. So the diagnosis of the death, these 5 findings: fixed bilateral dilated pupils, absence of all the reflexes, cessation of the respiration, flat electrocardiogram for 5 minutes, as well as flat electroencephalogram for the 5 minutes. Differential diagnosis: what situations, what conditions can mimic the death, although it is not death. These situations are the number 1, suspended animation; number 2, barbiturate poisoning; number 3, electrocution; number 4, drowning; and number 5, hypothermia. These are the situations which mimic the death, although the person is not dead. Suspended animation is also known as the apparent death. It is a condition in which the vital functions of the brain are placed at such a low pitch that the respiration and the heart beating cannot be detected with the ordinary methods. Means the person is alive, he is not dead, but the vital functions of the body are paced at such a low pitch that the respiration and the heart beating cannot be detected with the ordinary methods. That suspended animation may also be brought involuntary. Examples are the drowning in newborn baby, when the person is under anesthesia; concussion, a type of injury where there is no any structural damage, but the damage is at the physiological level. Other example can be the heat stroke, can be the prolonged illness, can be the electrocution, electric current, and the deep shock, where the heart beating and the respiration may be at such a low pitch that cannot be detected with ordinary means. Suspended animation can also be voluntary. Examples are the yogi. Yogis, they are with good practice of holding the breath for the prolonged period or longer period, extended period, and this also may occur during deep relaxations or suggestibility exercises or techniques like hypnotism or in hypnotherapy, one of the method of the treating in the psychiatry or in the psychology. So in such situation, the person is put in a state of a deep relaxation. So in that state, also the respiratory movements as well as the heartbeats may be paced at such a low pitch that these may not be detected with ordinary methods. So in such situation, how to confirm the death or the apparent death? The methods are the findings are the rectal temperature. It falls below 75 degree Fahrenheit. EEG remains flat for more than 5 minutes. Electrocardiogram, it remains flat for more than 5 minutes. And the on ophthalmoscopy, segmentation of the retinal blood capillaries is detected, then it is not apparent death. These are the differentiating features that how to diagnose apparent death. Then this is also term sudden and unexpected deaths are important from forensic medicine point of view. When an apparently healthy individual dies without any obvious reason unexpectedly, this always causes some doubt for any foul play. So any such deaths which are unexpected occurs in the healthy person, they naturally attract the doubt for any foul play with them. So that's why sudden and unexpected deaths are always to be well investigated to exclude any foul play with these. So this was all for today's session on thanatology, where we learnt that the thanatology is the branch of science which deals with the study of the death.